We're back. It has been a wild month of March at Bellarmine. For all the loyal Knights fans, you've been with us since the fall, but a lot of people are hearing the name Bellarmine now for the first time with what the men's basketball team was able to do. And we'll gladly welcome you on the university bandwagon. Hope you're having a great week. Remember, you can find the links and clips to all our episodes across our social media platforms. Just search at BU Knights. Really warm out today. Makes it a perfect time to talk about softball. And we're joined by a softball senior today. She's the leading batter this season. Hannah Webb is with us. Hannah, how are you?
I'm good. Jack, how are you?
I'm really good. I think I might have to take off this quarter zip. It's like 81 degrees today. I think it was 36 yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday was brutal.
I'm sure you're totally used to that, growing up playing softball around here. Does the cold affect you at all when you play?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely, especially the day after, because my joints feel like concrete for about the next 24 hours. And so catching hurts, swinging, hitting the ball off the handle feels horrible.
Yeah,
miserable.
I bet. So are you like more of a warm weather hitter and player?
Absolutely. Give me 100 degrees over 40.
Thank you. Some people just don't feel that way, like they naturally sweat a lot. Like I'm not really that person, so heat it up.
Absolutely.
Bring it on. So, yeah, it's really nice that we have at least some warm weather for now. Hopefully it stays that way this weekend for you guys' series against Liberty.
I hope so. We're going to need it.
So we only do hard-hitting questions on this podcast. Did you see the Will Smith slap?
I did. Absolutely, I did.
What was your initial reaction? Did you think it was real or fake?
I first thought it was fake. I thought there was no way that was happening, especially between the two of them, because they're both, like, funny and easygoing, at least I thought. I absolutely thought it was fake when I first saw it. But I don't know. I mean, I thought it was kind of out of pocket, but stood up for his wife, I guess.
Yeah, you can look at it that way. Maybe should have handled that, like, backstage.
Yeah. Well, he wrote some big apology.
Yeah.
And put that all over the internet. So I don't know if that compensates for it, but
you're right. I just thought it was fake. Like, you don't think of one of the most famous people in the world going up there and just slapping the crap out of a dude.
Over a joke.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I absolutely thought it was fake.
And there was, like, slow-mo video of Chris Rock leaning in a little bit. So then I'm thinking, like, okay, like, this is a bit. But I think he was leaning in to hear what he was going to say. Mm-hmm. And then he flinched a little, but that's kind of natural when you see someone swinging at you.
He took it like a champ.
Oh, my gosh.
He took it like a champ.
And then he just moved on. He was like, all right, let's get to the next award.
Yep.
That's crazy. Yeah, I've never seen a night on Twitter like that before.
No, it was nuts.
That's why I have that app still, like, for nights like that.
The memes are great.
Yeah, there's too many to count. And obviously what Will Smith said we can't repeat right now, but all those clips are hilarious.
Yes, absolutely.
So, yeah, like I said, only hard-hitting questions. But how'd you get into softball? Let's go all the way back to the beginning.
Oh, I played t-ball like every other kid when they were 6. And then my dad played JUCO baseball when he was in college. And I, got into coach pitch, whatever, fast or machine pitch. And I kind of took to it and started playing travel ball and took that really seriously as like a 10-year-old. I was big time playing travel ball. But, just kind of stuck with it, found out that I liked it, and I worked really hard at it. And my dad pushed me really hard, and I don't know, it just kind of stuck, and here I am.
Usually it's the parents that think their kids are big time around 10 years old.
Oh, no, our 10U travel ball team was intense. It was intense.
It's crazy to think about because I played youth baseball too, and you're right. You do think, like, everything revolves around you at that age.
Yep, 100%.
And it kind of does. But then you realize once you get into high school and college, like, wow, I was 10 years old and I thought I was going to be, the next great softball player.
Yeah. But no, it was really fun. I played travel ball from when I was 12 up until we actually played like a short travel season in a U23 league when everything got canceled with COVID. So we pulled 4 players from Bellarmine and then a few players that I grew up playing travel ball with that still play in college. and played a few weekends over the summer 2 years ago, which was really cool.
Yeah. Is it common for college players to play travel ball and softball?
Not really, no. Like summer ball is a thing for baseball, but not
Right.
really for softball. But since everything had gotten canceled, we found like a U23 summer league. And so that felt horrible to say because last time I said I was like 14.
Right.
But yeah, we found a U23 summer ball team and played. It was like the same 5 teams every weekend, but we were able to play travel ball.
Was it a lot of other college players? Like who was in the league?
It was other college players, and
Okay.
it ranged from D3 to I actually played against our now assistant coach, Molly. She pitched against us over that summer because she was still playing at that point.
What's
So,
that dynamic been like having Molly on the staff when she's really just like a year older than you?
She's great. I mean, everybody gets along with her really well. She's brought a lot to our program, not only with pitching, but she hit as well in college. She was a great hitter. And so we just get a lot of instruction from her. And she's still learning, how to separate from just getting out of the game to being in charge of 20 girls who are trying to figure it out. But she's been really good to have around, and everybody likes her a lot.
So what else did you play besides softball growing up?
I played middle school basketball and then realized that I was too small and physical sports were not my thing. So I was out of there after middle school. So stuck to softball.
Yeah, it tends to be the case. Same thing here, like middle school basketball, 5'8" at the time, wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
Turned to baseball. That tends to be
Not
the
for me.
trend.
Yep.
I'm guessing you pitched at some point. Like I feel like everyone did in softball.
Yep. You are correct.
When's the last time you pitched?
Probably my 8th grade year.
Okay.
So I am from Shelby County, and it was before they set the rule that like you have to be a certain age to play varsity. So all of the middle schoolers were on the varsity team. We realized that I was better at fielding a ground ball than I was at pitching it. So I kind of got the boot from pitching.
Okay.
So.
Does your hand actually hit the side of your thigh when you throw, or no?
No.
Okay.
What makes you think that?
There's just some like sound when the ball releases. It almost sounds like a smacking sound.
I think what you're hearing is a lot of pitchers will hit their glove on their leg to
Okay.
like push the ball forward, and so they'll smack their thigh with their glove. Because if you hit your hip with the ball, it'll like shoot off to the side.
Right. I just kind of thought it was on the follow through, like kind of hit the side of your thigh with your wrist or something.
That's the glove.
I was going to say, like, how do you guys not have like giant bruises on the side of your thigh?
I'm sure some people do because they hit their legs hard.
Right.
And it's a big piece of leather, so it smacks them pretty good. but-
Okay. So you cleared that up for me.
Yep.
You mentioned you grew up in Shelby County, not too far from here. I live in Lexington, so I pass it every single day. I see the signs. What's it like living in Shelbyville?
I love Shelbyville. I love it. It's in a great spot because we're 30 minutes from Louisville, 45 minutes from Lexington. You can get anywhere in a good amount of time. I grew up on, I guess you'd say a farm, but basically in the middle of nowhere. It kind of takes you 10 minutes to get anywhere. But lived on a lot of land, knew just about everybody. I don't know that you could say it's a small town because it's gotten a lot bigger recently, but Shelbyville was awesome. Grew up around my family. Grew up, had lifelong friends that I still catch up with today, so love Shelbyville.
What's kind of like a farm?
So the way our land is set up, so my parents live on one side of the road, and then we have cousins, my uncle, and my grandparents all live on the other side of the road. But we live on about 6 acres, and then my family had a lot of farmland on the other side of the road. So we used to have cattle, raise tobacco, all that kind of stuff. But we sold our herd a little bit ago, and my family, my parents don't really raise cows anymore. So we just got a lot of land that we mow and bale hay on.
Yeah. So growing up before you sold them, did you do a lot of farm stuff as a young kid?
Yes and no. We raised cows, so I had calves all the time, bottle feeding them, raising them, and selling them. And then I actually worked on a vegetable farm in high school, like a large-scale, big production vegetable farm. It's very random, but some family friends of ours owned a vegetable farm, and so my sisters and I needed jobs, and so we'd go out there every summer, 6:30, 7 in the morning, box vegetables, wash vegetables, put them in boxes, send them out.
Blue collar. Wow.
Guess you can say that.
What vegetables?
Squash, zucchini, eggplants, cucumbers. Oh, cucumbers were the worst. There's so many cucumbers.
Yeah.
Tomatoes. Yeah. Corn sometimes.
So you obviously had like a pretty tight relationship with your overall family growing up
Yeah.
because they were right across the street.
Right.
Huh. I can't imagine that. All my relatives live like 2 hours away, and we
Yeah.
see them at holidays, but that's cool. That's a really unique thing.
Yeah.
So you grow up there, 30 minutes away from Bellarmine. What was the biggest selling point on this school for you?
So, my sister graduated from Bellarmine in 2018. She ran track and cross country here, and she loved it. And I would come visit her and come stay at her house and try to act like I was older than I was and get the college experience. But I went on a few visits here, and I don't know. I knew Bellarmine was a good school, and I wanted to go into nursing, and obviously Bellarmine's got a great nursing program. And so everything kind of fell into place. I was looking for a place to play softball, and I was able to do that here, get a great education, be relatively close to my parents, so everything kind of worked out.
Did you ever consider going to a school further away?
It wasn't necessarily about where it was, but my deal breaker was that I wanted to go to a school in a city. And so I wanted, whether that was Nashville or Chicago or here, I wanted to go to school in a city.
Why?
So there's always something to do. So I wouldn't ever look around and think, well, I'll just sit at home.
Right. I mean, you grew up, like you said, on a farm.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if there's nothing to do, might as well go back home and see your family.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
I think there's plenty to do in
Yeah.
Louisville. So you made a good choice.
Yep. Agreed.
What do you do outside of softball?
That's a good question. I get asked that question a lot, and I've kind of made it my goal the past year to find hobbies outside of softball because, it's my last year. I got to find ways to fill my time coming up here soon. And so I like to be outside. I like to read a lot. My mom was my high school librarian, and so it was kind of enforced that we read.
Okay.
I like to read a lot, but I'm working on that. Because softball takes up a lot of my time.
Yeah.
And so does school. And so once I find something that I can do outside consistently, that'll be it. But I don't know yet.
Okay. High school librarian, your mom.
Yep.
So did you have to go to the library like every day?
No, I usually chose to so I could get food or like use a microwave. But no, it was good, nice to have her around.
Yeah. I feel like librarian's a good role. Like not your direct teacher, but still there.
Yep.
Just present enough.
Exactly.
So we talked about it before we came on. You've kept stats. That's something outside of softball.
I have. That's right.
With Spugs in the great sports information department. How did you get roped into that? I think you told me once.
My sister that went here
Yep.
worked for Spugs, and Spugs knows my family. My dad, they're good friends, and so I got roped into that once my sister left. It worked out perfectly because she graduated the same year I did, so on her way out, I was coming in. So I just filled her shoes, picked up where she left off, and kept stats at a lot of soccer and field hockey games.
We are going to miss the great string of Webb stat keepers starting next year. It's been going on for what, like 8 years now?
Yep, I'm the last one.
Wow.
Yep, going out with a bang.
So since the transition to D1, obviously winning has been tougher for a lot of the programs since Bellarmine made the transition 2 years ago. But what's been the best part of the last year and a half for you?
I would say this is kind of a selfish answer, but it's allowed me to like prove a lot to myself.
Yeah.
And I was scrawny and didn't think I was super like strong or athletic in high school, and so I was ecstatic to find out that I was going to start my freshman year here. And going D1, my goal was to not be outmatched, and I just feel like I've proven a lot to myself, that I can compete at this level and that I have worked hard enough to get here, and I don't know, just play to my abilities.
Yeah, you don't know, I mean, what you can do until you go against the best competition. That's what you've been able to do.
Right.
So that's a pretty cool way to put it. And I don't think that's selfish at all. Like, I mean, that's just a goal you have,
Yeah.
and you've accomplished that. So that's really cool. And you had a cool moment just the other day. You hit the home run against Stetson to give the program its first D1 conference win. Is that the favorite hit you've ever had?
Yeah, it is.
Hands down.
Yeah.
Anything else come to mind?
There was one time my sophomore year, before everything got canceled, we were in Huntsville, Alabama, playing, I believe, West Georgia at the time. It was freezing cold. It was early in the year. And they were chirping us all game. They were chirping us. They were mean. They were yelling from the dugout. It was a very intense game. You know, we were yelling right back. As soon as the other team starts doing it, we get into it. And we kind of had gone back and forth all game scoring. And I hit a 3-run home run that gave us the lead in that game. And I think that's probably my second favorite because I was screaming as I was running the bases. I was fired up. But I think Stetson beats that one.
Yeah, I mean, when the motivation's there to prove it to the other team, that helps a lot. But yeah, the significance behind that home run was really cool.
Yeah.
And I'm sure looking at that moment as a senior to be able to do it has to be even cooler, right?
Absolutely. It's weird because we did beat Stetson last year, but it was in some kind of weird like tournament conference crossover thing, so it didn't count. So it was that much better that we were able to beat them again and have that be our first ever conference win. So it was pretty cool.
So let's break down pitches here. Let's get into it.
Okay.
There was a sports science done on how hard it is to hit a softball a little while ago, and that always kind of stuck with me. I grew up playing baseball. I didn't realize how hard it actually is. First of all, how many pitch types are there in softball? Because it seems like there's a lot.
There are a lot. You've got fastball, changeup, screwball, rise ball, drop ball, drop curve, all kinds of weird stuff. I think those are the main 6 probably that people utilize. But then you've got your backdoor curves, backdoor screws, some kind of weird drop curve, whatever.
So what's the difference between a rise ball and a high fastball?
So a rise ball has some kind of it's almost backspin. So it spins up instead of a fastball, which usually just goes straight in, regardless of what the spin is. So rise balls can either come in and jump up out of the zone, or they can slowly rise. But either way, they're nasty.
Yeah, is that the hardest pitch to hit?
Personally, no. I like to think that I can lay off a rise ball every now and then. I feel like I can see it pretty well. But if you can't see it, you're swinging at it every time, and 9 times out of 10, you're going to miss it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So the difference between a drop ball and a drop curve, does curve have more horizontal movement on it? Okay.
Curve will kind of dive out off the plate.
Okay. Gotcha. Because you hear all these terms and you're like, okay, well, what's the difference between a rise ball and a high fastball? But all of them are really tough to hit, especially when you face a high velocity. What's the top velocity you've ever faced?
Last year when we were at Liberty, we were playing against Emily Kirby, who's a lefty for them, and I believe she hit 70 or 71, which is crazy, especially as a lefty.
So I think people just generally know baseball speeds a little bit more commonly. What would that compare to in baseball?
I want to say, so there's the old which is faster, reaction time debate between baseball and softball, and I think 70 would compare to about 95, I want to say, if not a little bit faster. But the reaction time is what makes it so hard, because you got to decide, is that coming over the plate? Is that going to be over my head? It's tough.
Well, in that sports science I mentioned, I think the conclusion they came to was it's harder to hit a softball than a baseball.
Yeah, I think it's the decision making and the reaction time that you have to have.
Right, because obviously the distance is closer and there's a lot of different factors, but that's nuts.
Yeah.
The other thing I was wondering about, there's a ton of games on the schedule every year. When you first jumped into college softball, was that a really big adjustment for you?
Not necessarily going into college softball because travel ball over the summer, you can play up to 5 games a day. And when you're 16, 17, that's great. You go to bed, you wake up the next morning, you're fine. Division two was wasn't so crazy with the amount of games. Sorry. Because we pretty much stuck to weekends, but it was mainly the transition to Division One. Last year we had a shortened schedule, so we didn't really experience it too much. But this year we have a midweek scheduled every single week, and I think we maxed out our games. We had 56 games scheduled at the beginning of the year, which is nuts.
Yeah.
And we've had a few canceled here and there, but the addition of the midweek has definitely made it hard, especially with school and transitioning from like being a senior in my capstone and my clinicals and all that stuff has been a lot to juggle.
Have you guys just like lived in Tennessee basically this year? Because you've had so many games down there.
We should have just stayed down there. I mean, I think we've played about every team in the OVL or the OVC.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were in Tennessee quite a bit.
Why do you think, I mean, it's that way, just this is a really broad question, but baseball and softball, like, why do you think we play so many games?
I had a conversation with somebody about that the other day, and I could not tell you. I mean, we're not a contact sport, so it's not like our bodies are going through, like, physical injuries that often. But, if we have a doubleheader, I'm standing up at the field for a good 8-10 hours.
Yeah.
And standing on dirt for 8 hours is not the most fun. And so part of me wonders if they'll shorten that eventually based on school and budgets, because 56 games for us, and I don't even know how many baseball has. That's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, baseball goes basically till the end of May, so a whole month longer.
Yeah.
It's bonkers. And like you said, when you're standing for 8 to 10 hours a day, yeah, you're not running and like hitting people, but you're on your feet for 6 hours longer.
It's a different kind of tired.
Yes.
It is. And this is going to make me sound dumb, but the difference, I'm 21 right now, my 21-year-old body versus my 17-year-old body that could play 5 games in one day. I'm exhausted after 14 innings.
Yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah. Getting older is a thing.
Yeah. Especially when you're an athlete, I think that just kind of amplifies it. But heck, when I was done with college, like I was getting tired at, like 12 or 1 instead of, 3, 4 a.m.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Happens to you fast. Yeah. So the day after the regular season ends, it's the Kentucky Derby. Do you go to the Derby or watch the Derby every year?
I try to. We haven't been able to go the past couple of years. We played last year. I think we were at SLU last year. But yeah, I try to. I don't get into it a whole lot, but I feel like I have to.
Yeah. You're in Kentucky.
Yeah.
I'm from Indiana, so it's kind of been a shock to me how big of a thing it is here.
Oh my God. It's a holiday.
Yeah, it literally is.
Yeah. One of our freshmen who's from Ohio, we were talking to her about it, and she didn't really even know what it was. So we sat her down and all sat around her and we're like, listen, this is what you do. This is what day it is. This is everything else that happens during the Derby. And she was overwhelmed.
Yeah. Vineyard Vines over in Lexington, at least, and I'm sure here in Louisville, if they have one, I think they're the official outfitter for the Kentucky Derby, or one of them. I mean, they have ties with horses on them and jackets that are super bright and the big hats and stuff. And it's so big. And the only thing I could compare it to in Indiana is the Indy 500. Mm-hmm. But I don't know, everybody talks about it and is obsessed with horse racing here.
Yeah.
I just think it's fascinating.
Well, I want to say that Shelbyville is the saddlebred capital of the world. So the Derby is thoroughbreds, but Shelbyville is saddlebreds, and we have the horse show every year in August, and everybody gets dressed up, and it's basically horses just prancing around a ring. So nobody's racing, but it's a show. So. And
that gets the people going, huh?
Absolutely, it does. It's a big party.
Yeah, I guess it's an excuse to go have a good time, if nothing else.
Yep.
But yeah, that just doesn't quite click for me. Just watching, horses go in a little circle, but people love it.
Yep.
They really do here. So where do you think that you've grown? It's reflective time here over the last 3.5 years.
I I think obviously I've grown as a softball player, kind of like I mentioned earlier, just my abilities and how they've changed over the past 3 years. But I think I've grown as a leader. You know, my role on the softball team has been, I think, pretty consistent over my 4 years, regardless of me being a freshman or a senior. But I've grown a lot of relationships out of that with my teammates and still with my parents. My dad and I are still really close with softball and everything. And then I've grown a lot academically, which is kind of a given. But I'm a nursing major, like I've mentioned, and I am proud of myself because nursing school is hard, and I'm trying to prove it to myself that I can do it, and I'm almost there. So academically, I'm very proud of myself because I've proven that I can do it, and that if I knuckle down and know that I can figure it out, then I'll get there, hopefully in 3 weeks.
Sounds like you need some sleep.
I'd love a good nap. Love a good nap.
Yeah, being a nursing major, what's the most difficult part about that? Like the amount of hours you put into it or the curriculum itself?
Both. Thankfully, in my last semester, I'm only in 3 classes, and that keeps me at full time. But I do have a 13-hour clinical on Tuesdays where I'm at the hospital from 6:30 to 7:30. But the curriculum, especially going into like sophomore year, everybody kind of jokes that like that's where they try to weed out the people who can't do it. But it's just the curriculum is very intense, and you have to really manage your time, especially as an athlete now. And I think that's a curve that a lot of my younger teammates are starting to figure out. And so the time management is definitely a challenge.
What do you do at the hospital for 13 hours?
Everything, nothing at the same time. We follow a nurse, and we're on our critical care rotation right now. And so through each semester, you get new skills that you check off on. And so we've, as a senior, I've basically been checked off on just about everything. So able to give meds, draw blood, basically do like busy work for the nurses. And if you get a good nurse, you'll learn a lot, and it's basically shadowing for the most part and working on skills.
You mentioned, the relationship you have with your dad being close through softball and everything, and how you've played it forever. Like, what role has softball played in your life now that you basically have a month left of it?
Yeah, I've been reflecting on it a lot, actually, as bad as that sounds. But I don't know. It's when you asked like what I do outside of softball earlier, I didn't really have an answer because it's softball is what I do. That's what I've done for the past 10 years. And so not that like it's my whole identity or anything, but I can do it year round. It's something that I've been able to just pour myself into. And I think being an athlete and like my work ethic through softball has transferred over into so many other things that have helped me be successful up until this point, Yeah, you're right. It's consuming, but like not in a bad way. Right.
Necessarily.
It's taught me so much.
Yeah. Sports, I mean, that's what they do.
Yeah.
And especially when you play for this long at the high level that you do. Mm-hmm. So I know you have like a lot of softball left. Like we mentioned, there's a lot of games. Mm-hmm. But sneak peek, like what's next for you after the season's done?
So I have accepted a job at Norton Audubon.
Okay.
On the cardiac PCU over there. And so I'll graduate. I'll take the NCLEX and pass, hopefully, on my first try. And then I will start working in July, and the rest is history.
When did you accept the job?
A few weeks ago. A week or two ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
You've got a job.
I've got a job. Very excited.
That's got to be a little bit of a weight off your shoulders, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. You have a job. You're about to wrap up your senior softball season. Big year for you.
A lot of changes coming soon. So looking forward to it.
Well, you've been great here for a while, and you got a lot of big things ahead, Hannah. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Hannah Webb. They've got a lot of softball left, about a month left in the season. That does it for KRT episode 12 today. Subscribe to our YouTube page. Follow us on social media at BU Knights to hear from Hannah and all of the other guests. I'm Jack Kaiser, and Swords Up.